The morning light over Snohomish had never been warm, but that particular day carried a heavier gray than usual. A thin mist drifted across the old cedar trees, and the steady drizzle tapped against the windows of the Cooper house in a rhythm that felt almost cautious. Inside, Marilyn Cooper stood by her workbench, running her fingers across the frame of an antique oak chair she had been restoring for weeks. The smell of varnish mixed with the scent of rain-soaked earth seeping through the cracked open window. This house had belonged to her late aunt, a woman who believed in quiet resilience and careful craftsmanship, traits Marilyn carried with her like heirlooms. She had lived here nearly her entire adult life, even after marrying Evan Cooper 13 years ago. The home's creaking floors and mismatched vintage lamps comforted her. It was a place that felt honest, steady, unlike the life she had been navigating lately with her husband. Evan, a corporate attorney in downtown Seattle, moved through the world with a polished ease that Marilyn admired once, before she realized how easily that polish could hide the intentions beneath. Their marriage had been stable on the surface, but over the past few months something in his demeanor had begun to shift. Small things at first, glances that didn't linger, answers that sounded rehearsed, a softness replaced by a tension she couldn't yet name. It was only when she picked up his blazer that morning, intending to brush off a speck of dust before he left for work, that she felt the first undeniable jolt. A small rectangle slipped from the inner pocket and landed quietly on the hardwood floor. Marilyn froze, then slowly bent to pick it up. A divorce attorney's business card. She stared at the name for a long, suspended moment. The drizzle outside blurred the edges of the window pane, making the room feel distant, like she was standing inside a memory instead of her own kitchen. Her fingers tightened around the card before she placed it back exactly where she found it. When Evan emerged from the hallway adjusting his tie, she said nothing. She simply handed him the blazer, her eyes neutral, her breath even. He didn't notice. Over the following days, the changes multiplied. Evan began keeping his phone face down on every surface, even at home, the screen lighting only to be silenced quickly by his hand. He worked later than usual, returning long after dark with vague explanations about meetings that ran over or clients who needed urgent attention. Marilyn watched all of it with a quiet, deliberate stillness. Sometimes he spoke about how a place in Queen and would make more sense for someone at my level, or how they were too far removed from where everything happens. He talked about skyline views, proximity to the firm, the convenience of city living. Yet each time he spoke, it wasn't the excitement of building a life together. It was the impatience of someone trying to shift pieces into place for a plan only he understood. One evening near the end of the month, Evan invited their friends Victor and Janet Hale over for dinner. The Hales were effortlessly charming, dressed in crisp city clothes that contrasted with Marilyn's lived-in home. They complimented the aged wood floors and the fireplace her aunt once adored. But their smiles felt stretched, their eyes moving through the rooms like appraisers. Over roast chicken and glasses of Sauvignon Blanc, Victor leaned back casually and said, "You know, Evan, the downtown market is wild right now. If you're thinking of investing in a condo, now's the moment. Queen Anne, Capitol Hill, everything's climbing." Janet chimed in, "And a home like this? You'd sell it in a heartbeat. People are desperate for character properties with space." Evan nodded with an ease that made Marilyn's stomach tighten. "I've been looking at some listings, just exploring options." Marilyn kept her gaze on her plate, letting the voices wash over her like distant waves. The drizzle outside had thickened into a steady rain, tapping harder against the windows. The room felt smaller, the air denser. She listened to every inflection, every glance shared across the table, and beneath it all, she felt something forming, like a storm she could sense long before she could see. Not anger, not fear, just an understanding, quiet and cold. a shadow settling into place. It was the first moment she realized the life she knew was no longer entirely hers. Rain drifted against the windows in slow, deliberate strokes. Soft at first, then steadier, as if the night itself was breathing. The living room in Snohomish felt unusually still. Lamps cast gentle pools of amber light across the floorboards, and the smell of damp cedar seeped through the small gap under the front door. Marilyn Cooper sat curled on the edge of the sofa, her mind still replaying the dinner 2 nights before, each sentence from the Hales sliding back into her thoughts like unwelcome echoes. Evan was upstairs showering. He had come home later than usual, muttering something about a brief that needed revisions. His voice carried fatigue, but Marilyn could hear the carefulness underneath. Every word chosen, measured, designed not to reveal anything at all. When he climbed the stairs, he left his phone on the coffee table without noticing. Marilyn didn't touch it at first. The rain deepened. The house settled. The shower turned on. Only then did she reach for the device, not with impatience, not with curiosity, but with the slow inevitability of someone who already knew what they were about to find. The screen lit up the moment her finger brushed it. A notification appeared, a name she recognized from the business card buried in his blazer. Joyce Whitman, attorney at law. Her pulse tightened, but her hand stayed steady as she opened the thread. The most recent message sat at the top, cold and clear. Once the condo is purchased during the marriage, the division will be straightforward. A drop of rain slid down the outside of the window, just as Marilyn's eyes moved to the message beneath it. A longer one from earlier that day. I've reviewed the financials. Selling the current property first will simplify everything. We can finalize the filing 2-3 weeks after the acquisition. Under the text bubbles were attachments, spreadsheets labeled with surgical precision. Post-division _ projection .xlsx asset allocation _ PDF timeline _ phase 2 docs Marilyn open one. Lines of numbers, projections, notes. Assuming sale of Snohomish property proceeds as expected if spouse agrees to relocation as framed by client division. 50-50 per WA community property guidelines. Her breath caught, but not loudly. Not in shock, more like recognition. The pieces she had been trying to assemble quietly in her mind began aligning with a terrible clarity. Sell the house that was legally hers alone. Separate property inherited from her aunt. Use the proceeds as down payment for a marital purchase. Move her into a condo she never asked for. File for divorce while the new property was still fresh under community assets. Split it. Walk away with half. The plan wasn't emotional. It wasn't about dissatisfaction or conflict or even resentment. It was logistical, efficient, almost corporate. She scrolled further. Another message from Joyce. Once the environment is more controlled, preferably post-move, we can proceed without contest. Marilyn let the phone rest in her palm as if it were a fragile object. Though nothing inside it felt fragile anymore. The softness of the lamps, the rhythm of the rain, the warmth of the room, all of it felt distant. Muted behind a veil she hadn't realized she'd been wearing. Upstairs, water continued running. Evan hummed lightly, a tune she didn't recognize, something careless. Marilyn closed the messages, placed the phone back exactly where he had left it, and sat motionless for several seconds. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She didn't pace or collapse or gasp. Instead, she inhaled slowly, deeply, as if claiming the air for herself. The shock was there, sharp, undeniable, but beneath it, something else was beginning to surface. A colder, quieter awareness. A shift from confusion to clarity. From instinctive fear to deliberate observation. The first shadow had come earlier that month. Tonight, the darkness took shape. And Marilyn, sitting alone in the rain-soaked stillness of her Snohomish home, finally understood she was no longer living beside a man. She was living inside a strategy. The transformation didn't arrive with anger. It arrived with silence. The rain eased by the time Marilyn reached North Seattle, but the sky remained a dull slate, holding the remnants of a storm that refused to fully pass. Her father's house sat on a quiet street lined with towering fir trees, each one swaying gently in the cold wind. Warm light spilled from the windows, golden, steady, and familiar, a striking contrast to the dim tension that had filled the Snohomish home she shared with Evan. Franklin Cooper opened the door before she could knock twice. His white hair was tied back, his flannel shirt worn soft from years of use. He looked at her with the kind of concern only a father carried, a concern sharpened by intuition. "You're pale," he murmured. "Come inside." She stepped into the warmth, the air filled with the scent of old books, pine wood, and the faint aroma of black coffee left on the stove. They sat at the dining table, Marilyn's hands wrapped around a mug she never drank from, Franklin watching her with unwavering patience until the words began to untangle themselves. She told him everything: the business card, the texts from Joyce Whitman, the spreadsheets labeled post-division, the plan timed around a condo purchase, Evan's casual mentions of Queen Anne, the subtle, practiced manipulation woven through the past months. Her voice stayed even. Her eyes did not tear. If anything, the telling made her calmer, as if speaking the truth aloud finally gave form to the fog she had been navigating. Franklin listened without interruption, but the muscle in his jaw tightened, and when she finished, he exhaled slowly, an exhale that held both fury and restraint. "Marilyn," he said softly, "that house in Snohomish is your separate property. Your aunt left it to you before you ever met him. Under Washington law, that's yours alone. Evan can't touch it." She nodded. "He wants to convert it, to make the condo community property." "Yes," Franklin replied, voice gaining weight. "If you sell the house and use it as the down payment for a condo titled in both your names, the law sees that condo as marital property, community property, split 50-50 in divorce." He paused. "He's counting on your trust to do the work for him." The anger in his eyes wasn't loud. It was deep, old, and protective. "What do I do?" she whispered. Franklin leaned back, fingertips pressed together in thought. "You do what he's doing, only quietly, legally, and without malice. You shield what's yours." His gaze settled on hers. "And you don't let him take a cent." The plan formed between them like a blueprint unrolling. Step 1. Marilyn would sell the Snohomish house because she needed the cash to move, but also because the sale would look like she was complying with Evan's condo plan. Step 2. When the proceeds arrived, she would not use them for a marital purchase. Instead, the funds would go to Franklin as a repayment on a promissory note, a document they would draft immediately, stating that Franklin had once lent her money. This turned the transfer into a legitimate debt repayment, fully documented. Step 3. Franklin would then execute a power of attorney, naming Marilyn as his agent. With this POA, she could legally purchase a new property on his behalf, titled solely under his name. Step 4. They would meet with Harold Stein, Franklin's longtime attorney, a man who could prepare all documents without raising suspicion. The new property, acquired under Franklin's ownership, would be beyond Evan's reach, and Marilyn would have a safe place to land when the storm finally broke. She absorbed every piece of the plan, each detail settling into her like a stone dropped into still water, creating quiet, widening ripples of resolve. Franklin reached across the table, placing his hand over hers. "You didn't come here for revenge," he said. "You came here for protection, and that's exactly what we'll build." For the first time in weeks, Marilyn felt the weight in her chest shift, not disappearing, but transforming into something steadier, something clearer. A quiet decision had been made. not just to survive, but to act calmly, precisely, and without fear. Outside, the rain finally stopped. Inside, an alliance was forged. Queen and looked almost unreal that afternoon, washed in pale winter sunlight that reflected off the glass towers overlooking Elliott Bay. Evan Cooper walked half a step ahead of Marilyn, energized in a way she hadn't seen in months. His suit jacket fluttered slightly in the cold wind, and his voice carried a rehearsed enthusiasm as he gestured toward the sleek entrance of the condo building. "Wait until you see the views," he said, tapping the elevator button. "This place is perfect for us, close to the firm, close to everything that matters." Marilyn nodded softly. "I'm excited," she replied, eyes steady, tone warm, just warm enough. The elevator doors opened with a polished chime, revealing a realtor with a bright smile and a tablet full of floor plans. They toured the unit, floor-to-ceiling windows, quartz counters, a balcony overlooking the bay. Price tag, $1.25 million. A home designed for someone who wanted a sharper, glossier life. Evan walked through the rooms as though he already owned them. Hands in his pockets, chin lifted. "This is it," he said. "This is where we should be." Marilyn looked out at the skyline, her reflection faint against the glass. "If you think it's right," she said quietly, "then maybe it is." And just like that, Evan's shoulders dropped with relief, almost giddy. The approval he wanted, the compliance he needed, a wife who believed him, a step closer to the timeline he had engineered. He had no idea the game had shifted. They saw a second unit in Capitol Hill next. Sleeker, higher, louder. Evan pretended to weigh them equally, but his eyes kept drifting back to Queen Anne. He was already picturing life there, picturing the closing day, picturing the division. Marilyn watched him with a softness so controlled it might have been mistaken for affection. In truth, it was calculation, precise, measured, silent. By evening, they were back in Snohomish. The drizzle had returned, tapping faintly against the roof, a quiet metronome to the unfolding double play. Evan spread out brochures on the dining table, pointing out square footage, investment potential, projected appreciation. Marilyn sat across from him, chin resting on her hand, matching his excitement beat for beat. "This is a new chapter," Evan said, his smile almost boyish. Marilyn smiled back. "It really is." He didn't notice the slight shift in her eyes, the calmness that bordered on dangerous. While Evan sent emails to the realtor confirming their interest, a different scene was unfolding across Seattle. In Franklin Cooper's home office, stacks of documents lay neatly arranged beneath a desk lamp. A promissory note, drafted to look years old, detailing a personal loan Franklin had once extended to his daughter, a power of attorney, giving Marilyn full authority to conduct real estate purchases on Franklin's behalf. A paper trail mapped with surgical precision by Harold Stein, showing repayment, transfer, and the legitimacy of every financial movement. No detail missed, no signature out of place, no step that could be challenged in court. "These will hold," Harold murmured, flipping through the pages with a critical eye. "They need to," Franklin replied. Meanwhile, back in Snohomish, Evan opened his laptop and clicked through escrow paperwork. Humming under his breath, he slid the screen toward Marilyn. "Just initial here," he said. She didn't hesitate. Her pen glided across the page. A wife agreeing, a husband assuming. Escrow opened. A good faith deposit sent. A timeline set in motion. When the documents were signed, Evan leaned back, satisfied. "Feels good, doesn't it?" Marilyn's expression softened. "It feels inevitable." He mistook the word for agreement. In truth, it was prophecy. The night deepened. The drizzle turned to rain. And the dual play continued. One side eager, confident, certain. The other side silent, steady, and preparing for the inevitable fracture. Marilyn extinguished the dining room candle, its smoke curling like a whisper. Her steps were light. Her heart was calm, dangerously calm. The morning of the closing arrived with an unusual stillness, a quiet that felt almost ceremonial. The Snohomish house, usually humming with the soft sounds of wind through cedar branches, seemed to hold its breath. Moving boxes lined the hallway in uneven stacks, each one labeled in Marilyn's careful handwriting. Some boxes were light, tools, brushes, polish. Others were heavier, filled with the last pieces of her aunt's life. Embroidered linens, a chipped ceramic vase, her old handwritten recipe cards. The house smelled faintly of dust and lemon oil, a scent Marilyn had always loved. Today it made her chest tighten. A car pulled into the driveway. The buyers, a young couple with bright plans and city faces, stepped out and approached the porch with eager eyes. Their excitement radiated through the rooms as they did a final walk-through. Admiring the fireplace, the crown molding, the aged floorboards, Marilyn had refinished herself. She followed them silently, her fingertips brushing lightly along the same wall she used to lean against during quiet winter mornings. "It's even more beautiful than we remembered," the woman said warmly. Marilyn managed a soft smile. "I'm glad it's going to someone who'll take care of it." Behind her, Evan stood with his arms folded, smiling with the self-satisfaction of a man who believed every piece of the future was falling into place. His gaze roamed the house, not with fondness, but with calculation, seeing in every corner the promise of a large down payment and an effortless transition into the condo he wanted. By early afternoon, they were seated at the long wooden table, the same one her aunt had inherited from her grandmother, now transformed into a closing desk. The escrow officer slid documents across the surface one by one. Signatures, initials, confirmations, disclosures. Marilyn's pen moved steadily, her face unreadable. Evan signed with barely concealed excitement. When the final document was notarized, the escrow agent closed a folder and gave a professional, practiced smile. "Congratulations. Funds have been released. You'll see the wire hit within the hour. Just under 900,000. Evan exhaled sharply through his nose, a sound of triumph. "That'll make the Queen an offer unstoppable," he said, glancing at Marilyn with a grin that did not reach his eyes. She nodded faintly, but her gaze drifted past him, toward the window overlooking the yard. The moment the agent left, Marilyn stepped outside alone. The drizzle had lightened into a soft mist, coating the grass in a silvery sheen. She walked slowly around the property one last time. The cracked stone pathway, the overgrown hydrangeas, the tall cedar her aunt planted the year Marilyn turned 8. Every corner held a memory. Summers where she learned sanding techniques under the porch. Autumns spent carving out new beginnings after heartbreaks. Winters warmed by her aunt's quiet humming as she cooked dinner. Marilyn paused by the workshop window. The light inside was dim now. The room empty except for a stray paintbrush lying abandoned on the counter. Her throat tightened, but she held the emotion like she held everything else. Quietly, privately, she placed her palm against the cool wood of the doorframe. "Thank you," she whispered under her breath. Not to the house, but to the life she had lived here, to the safety it had given her, to the version of herself that grew inside its walls. Behind her, Evan called out, "Ready? We should get going. We've got appointments tomorrow." His voice broke the moment like a stone hitting still water. Marilyn turned, the mist clinging to her hair. "Yes," she said softly, "I'm ready." But her eyes held a certainty he could not see. Leaving wasn't defeat. It was preparation. As she locked the door for the final time, she didn't look back toward Evan, only toward the horizon, where the road to North Seattle and her father's plan waited quietly, solidly. The house was no longer hers, but her future was. The late afternoon crowd buzzed softly inside the small cafe tucked near the base of Columbia Center. Baristas moved with practiced rhythm, steaming milk. sliding cups across polished countertops. Outside, downtown Seattle pulsed with traffic and rushing pedestrians, the usual hum of a city that didn't pause for anyone's heartbreak. Marilyn Cooper waited at a corner table, hands wrapped around a cup of cooling tea. She had chosen this place deliberately, close enough to Evan's firm that it wouldn't raise suspicion, yet quiet enough that a single conversation could change the trajectory of her life. When the door opened with a soft chime, she looked up. Sophie Larson stepped inside, a petite woman in her late 30s, dressed in a charcoal blazer, with dark hair pulled into a low knot. She scanned the room, spotted Marilyn, and approached quickly, almost nervously. Her eyes carried something heavy, something she had been holding for too long. "Thank you for meeting me," Sophie said, sliding into the seat across from her. Marilyn nodded gently. "You said it was important." Sophie hesitated, glancing toward the windows as if checking for invisible witnesses. Then she exhaled, her voice dropping to a controlled whisper. "I work with your husband," she began. "I'm a paralegal on the corporate side, but I assist the family law team when they need backup. I know things I can't ignore anymore." Marilyn's heart tightened, but her posture remained calm. "What things?" Sophie swallowed. "Evan has been planning a divorce for almost a year." The words landed with a quiet brutality. No theatrics, no shock, just confirmation of what Marilyn had already begun to understand. Still, hearing it aloud scraped something raw inside her. Sophie continued, hands clasped tightly. "He's been consulting with Joyce Whitman since January. The plan has been evolving ever since. 11 months of drafts, asset charts, timelines." She paused. "He's done something similar before, with a previous client." Marilyn's brow lifted. "Similar how?" "The same pattern," Sophie said. "Convince the spouse to sell their separate property. Use the proceeds as a marital down payment. Then file for divorce once everything is tied up in community assets." She looked away briefly, guilt flickering through her expression. That case was messy. The spouse didn't see it coming. Marilyn breathed in slowly, absorbing every word with the precision of someone assembling a puzzle she already knew the shape of. "There's more," Sophie added, almost reluctantly. "Evan intends to file 2 weeks after closing. He's said it more than once. He calls it the clean window before the marital finances get too tangled, after the condo becomes both of yours. 2 weeks. The calculation behind it was chilling in its efficiency. Sophie pushed a small envelope across the table. "I can't give you firm documents. It would cost me my license. But I can give you these." Inside the envelope were handwritten notes. Dates, meeting summaries, references to draft filings, comments Joyce had made about timing. Enough to paint the full picture. Enough to show intent. Marilyn didn't touch the envelope at first. She simply looked at Sophie and asked quietly, "Why tell me?" "Because it's wrong," Sophie said, voice trembling despite the steadiness she tried to maintain. "And because you don't deserve to be blindsided. You've always been kind when you came by the office. He isn't." A silence settled between them, heavy but clear. Marilyn finally reached for the envelope and slipped it into her bag with deliberate care. "Thank you, Sophie." The paralegal exhaled shakily, relief and fear mingling in her expression. "Whatever you're planning, just be careful." Marilyn offered a small, controlled smile. "I already am." Sophie left first, disappearing into the crowd outside. Marilyn remained seated for a long moment, feeling the weight of everything solidify inside her. Not despair, not panic, but clarity, sharp and cold. This wasn't suspicion anymore. It wasn't theory or fear or intuition. It was fact, documented, timed, deliberate. The drizzle began again outside. Streaking the windows, blurring the shapes of the city, she suddenly saw with new eyes. Marilyn stood, smoothed her coat, and stepped into the rain. The truth didn't break her. It steadied her, because now she knew exactly what she was walking toward and what she would no longer allow behind her. The air inside the escrow office felt overly conditioned, the kind of crisp chill meant to keep clients alert, focused, ready to sign life-altering documents without missing a single line. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. A pot of coffee sat untouched on a side table. Evan Cooper strode in with the buoyancy of a man who believed he had engineered the perfect moment. "This is it," he said, adjusting his tie as he held the door for Marilyn. "After today, everything changes." Marilyn stepped in with a gentle nod, her expression calm, the faintest trace of a smile resting at the corners of her mouth. Not the smile of someone buying a dream home, the smile of someone watching a clock strike the exact second she had been waiting for. They were greeted by the signing agent, who ushered them into a glass-walled conference room. A stack of papers awaited on the polished table: purchase agreement, deed of trust, disclosures, escrow instructions, acknowledgments. Evan sat quickly, rubbing his hands together. "Let's get started." The signing agent cleared her throat politely. "Just for verification, these documents will be executed under the authority of Franklin Cooper, correct?" Evan barely looked up. Yes. My father-in-law is helping with some financing. Let's proceed." He didn't ask who the legal owner would be. He didn't ask why the deed packet bore only one printed name. He didn't ask why Marilyn alone was signing. He didn't even look. Marilyn retrieved the POA from her bag, sliding it across the table with serene precision. "As Franklin's appointed agent," she said softly, "I'll be signing on his behalf." The agent nodded, reviewing the forms. "Everything is in order." Evan leaned back, satisfied. "See? Smooth. I told you the condo market moves fast." Marilyn signed page after page, each signature elegant and composed. Marilyn Cooper, attorney-in-fact for Franklin Cooper. With each stroke of the pen, the trap closed another inch. The agent reviewed the final packet, stamped it, notarized where required, and slid the documents neatly into a folder. "Congratulations," she said. "Ownership will record within 48 hours. Escrow is officially closed." Evan clasped his hands, a triumphant grin cutting across his face. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. He stood, already imagining the life ahead. New condo, new social circle, new freedom. The illusion of control warmed him like sunlight. Marilyn rose more slowly. She thanked the agent, shook her hand politely, and followed Evan toward the parking lot. The drizzle had returned, fine and silvery, beating on her coat. Evan held the car door open for her, humming with excitement. "This place is going to be incredible for us," he said as he slid into the driver's seat. "A fresh start, a better life. You'll see." Marilyn turned her face toward the window, watching raindrops race down the glass in thin, trembling lines. "I'm sure it will be," she murmured. "Just not for you." That evening, the Snohomish house glowed with soft lamplight and half-packed boxes. Evan burst through the front door, carrying a bottle of champagne wrapped in gold foil. "To us," he declared, placing it loudly on the kitchen counter. "To our new home." He popped the cork with a flourish, foam spilling onto the granite countertop. He poured 2 glasses, handing one to Marilyn with an exuberance she hadn't seen in months. "Come on, at least smile. This is the start of everything we've been working toward." She accepted the glass, fingers steady around the stem. Evan lifted his drink. "To the condo and to our future." Marilyn raised hers, the same subtle smile returning, the one Evan always misread. "To the future," she echoed. They clinked glasses. The sound was soft, crystalline. Evan drank deeply, already celebrating what he believed was a victory sealed. Marilyn took only a small sip, setting her glass gently on the counter. She watched him as he continued talking about decor, viewings, furniture, and how soon they might move in. His words drifted through the room like smoke, thick with misplaced confidence. He didn't know the deed sat in escrow with one name only. He didn't know Franklin Cooper now owned everything he was celebrating. He didn't know the window for filing was already collapsing around him. Marilyn leaned against the counter, her expression serene. The future was coming, and she knew exactly how it would unfold. Morning came gray and sharp, the kind of Pacific Northwest light that seemed to strip everything of warmth. The Snohomish house was quiet, still filled with half-packed boxes and the faint scent of champagne from the night before. Marilyn stood by the window, coffee untouched, watching thin streaks of rain gather on the glass. Evan came downstairs with an expression she recognized immediately, not casual, not affectionate, determined, calculating. His suit was immaculate, his hair swept back with more precision than usual. In his hand was a sleek black folder. "It's time we talked," he said, voice steady with false authority. Marilyn turned slowly. "All right." He placed the folder on the dining table and opened it with a crisp flick. Inside lay a stack of typed papers, clean, official, perfectly prepared. A petition for dissolution of marriage. He slid it toward her. "This is the right step for both of us. The condo gives us a clean division." "I've already spoken with," he didn't finish. Marilyn, without a word, reached into her tote bag and laid 3 items gently beside his papers. First, a printed spreadsheet labeled post-division underscore projection.xlsx. Second, screenshots of messages from Joyce Whitman, the attorney he believed was invisible to her. Third, a written statement in Sophie Larson's handwriting. Dates, timeline notes, references to meetings Evan assumed were private. Evan froze. Marilyn's expression didn't shift. Her hands were calm, her voice soft. "You've been planning this for 11 months. "I know." A flush crept up Evan's neck. This doesn't mean anything. It means everything." He opened his mouth again, but she raised a hand slightly, stopping him with a kind of quiet authority he wasn't used to. Then she said the line, the one that cut through him like a blade. "Evan, are you sure you've read the property title?" The air between them snapped. His eyes narrowed, confusion flickering into panic. "What are you talking about? The condo is ours. I watched you sign." "Yes," she replied, picking up her coat. "You watched me sign." The silence that followed was suffocating. Marilyn stepped toward the door. "You should come with me." Evan followed, stiff, rattled, the certainty he walked with yesterday already splintering. Queen and 30 minutes later the elevator ride was suffocatingly quiet. Evan's foot tapped relentlessly against the polished floor, his breath shallow. Marilyn stood still beside him, her gaze forward. When the doors opened, the hallway stretched out in muted tones of gray and cream. The smell of new paint lingered faintly. Franklin Cooper stood at the end of the corridor, leaning calmly against the wall. He wore a wool coat, hands folded in front of him, his presence steady as bedrock. When the couple approached, he straightened. "Morning," Franklin said, voice even. Evan blinked. "What is he doing here?" Marilyn didn't answer. She merely gestured toward the open door of the new condo. "Let's go inside." They entered the living room, flooded with soft daylight from floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked Elliott Bay. The space should have felt exhilarating, modern, open, new. Instead, it felt like a courtroom. On the kitchen counter lay a folder. Franklin opened it slowly and held out the top document. Property title, Unit 19B, Queen and Tower. Evan snatched it, scanning quickly, confident at first, then confused, then horrified. His lips parted, his hand trembled. The certificate read, owner of record, Franklin Cooper, not Marilyn, not Evan, not the Coopers jointly, just Franklin. What the hell is this? Evan stammered, flipping through the pages as if the truth might rearrange itself. No, no, this is wrong. This is fraud. I'll sue. Franklin stepped closer, voice low and unwavering. You file anything. And the first document the court sees will be your timeline with Joyce. Then they'll see the spreadsheets. Then Sophie's notes. He paused. Your own intent proves everything. Evan's chest heaved. This was supposed to be ours. She signed the papers. She signed, Marilyn said softly, as power of attorney for my father. Everything is legal. Every dollar accounted for. Every signature valid. Evan's panic cracked into something uglier. You tricked me. No, Marilyn replied, her tone cold as rain. You tried to trap me. I just made sure you never succeeded. Evan's breath came in uneven bursts. He paced, hands on his head, muttering curses, threats, fragments of disbelief. Franklin watched him a moment, then delivered the final blow with the same calm strength he'd used his entire life. Get out of my son's home. Evan stopped, his face twisted, not in anger, but in humiliation so profound it hollowed him. This isn't over, he whispered, but even he didn't sound convinced. Marilyn turned away from him, stepping toward the window. The water below was gray, restless, cold, yet steady. She felt the same. The trap had closed, not loudly, not violently, but completely. Evan stood in the doorway, shattered, staring at everything he thought he owned, realizing none of it was his. And Marilyn, in the quiet of that bright, echoing apartment, didn't need to say another word. The marble hallways of the King County Superior Court echoed with footsteps that morning. Sharp, hurried, nervous. Evan Cooper walked through them with a stiff posture. Jaw clenched, suit flawless, but eyes hollow. He carried a leather briefcase stuffed with arguments, exhibits, and desperate hopes. His attorney walked beside him, whispering strategies with the crisp confidence of someone who hadn't yet grasped how thoroughly the ground had disappeared beneath his client's feet. Across the hall, Marilyn arrived with far quieter energy. She wore a simple black coat, her expression composed, her movements methodical. Beside her stood Harold Stein, Franklin's attorney, a man with silver hair, unwavering calm, and the precision of someone who had been dismantling weak cases for 4 decades. The courtroom was cool and bright, the rain tapping faintly against tall windows. Judge Halloran, a woman known for her sharp intolerance of sloppy evidence, called the session to order. Case of Cooper v. Cooper. Evan's attorney launched in immediately. Your Honor, the condominium in Queen and was purchased during the marriage. It therefore qualifies as community property. Subject to equal division. Harold stood without haste. Objection. Counsel is misrepresenting the facts. The property was acquired by one party, only Mr. Franklin Cooper, using separate property funds. Judge Halloran lifted an eyebrow. Show me. Harold opened his binder. Everything was arranged with surgical neatness. Exhibit A. Promissory note, drafted years earlier, documenting a personal loan from Franklin to Marilyn. Exhibit B. Bank wire confirmation showing the repayment, Marilyn transferring her Snohomish proceeds to her father exactly as the note required. Exhibit C. Power of attorney, notarized and valid, authorizing Marilyn to sign on Franklin's behalf. Exhibit D. Closing documents listing Franklin Cooper as the sole buyer. Exhibit E. A timeline highlighting Evan's meetings with Joyce Whitman, thinly disguised attempts to manipulate marital asset classification. Every paper was authenticated. Every step matched Washington law. Nothing leaked. Nothing contradicted another page. The judge flipped through the exhibits slowly, her expression unreadable. Evan's attorney tried again, louder this time. But the intention, the judge interrupted. Property law is not governed by intention. It's governed by documentation. She turned to Evan. Did you contribute financially to the down payment? No, Evan muttered. Did your wife use marital funds? No. Did you review the deed prior to closing? His silence lasted too long. Harold stepped forward. Your Honor, the petitioner seeks to claim an interest in an asset he neither funded, titled, nor legally attached to. The law is clear. The judge nodded. Crystal. Evan's attorney scrambled. Your Honor, the marriage itself, the marriage, Judge Halloran said calmly, is a separate matter, and dissolution will be granted. She tapped the file once, decisively, but regarding the property, the condo is not community property. It is separate property belonging solely to Franklin Cooper. A pause, a breathless, heavy, devastating pause. Petitioner's request for division is denied. The words slammed into Evan harder than any physical blow. His shoulders slumped. His eyes darted between the judge, the documents, the floor, searching for an escape that didn't exist. And as for spousal claims, the judge added, there is insufficient evidence to award support. Both parties are capable of independent financial stability. Final decree will be issued today. Evan stood frozen, his world collapsing in silent, surgical fragments. No shouting, no dramatic gestures, just the cold efficiency of legal consequence. Harold closed his binder. Thank you, Your Honor. Marilyn didn't look at Evan. She simply rose, collecting her coat with the same quiet poise she had carried for weeks. There was no triumph in her face, only calm inevitability. Outside the courthouse, Evan stopped her near the steps, rain beginning to fall in thin needles. You ruined me, he rasped. Marilyn turned slowly, her voice almost gentle in its stillness. No, Evan. You planned your own ruin. I just stepped out of the way. He swallowed hard, breath trembling. This can't be it. It can't end like this. It already has. She walked away before he could say another word, the sound of the rain swallowing everything behind her. Evan remained on the courthouse steps, suit dampening, breath uneven, staring at the doors through which he had entered so confidently. He had walked in expecting a victory. He left with nothing. 5 years slipped by in a way only the Pacific Northwest could measure, through cycles of misty springs, long blue-gray summers, and autumns that smelled of cedar and rain. Seattle changed, as cities do, but Marilyn Cooper's life changed even more quietly, more deliberately. The new condo she lived in was smaller than the queen and tower Evan once coveted, but it was hers, built with intention, not manipulation. A west-facing window washed the space in soft amber every evening, turning the walls a gentle gold. Plants lined the sills. Her aunt's old ceramic vase sat on the bookshelf. A framed photograph of her father, steadfast, protective, rested on the desk. The home was peaceful in a way the Snohomish house had never fully been during her marriage. Her woodworking studio, located a short walk from Pike Place Market, had become her sanctuary. The space was filled with the earthy scent of sanded oak walnut shavings, jasmine tea, and varnish. Clients from all over Seattle sought her out. Restoration of heirloom wardrobes, bespoke reclaimed wood tables, antique cabinet repairs. She worked with her hands and with quiet precision, just as her aunt had taught her, each project grounding her in a way life with Evan never had. Success hadn't come through ambition or notoriety. It came through consistency, depth, integrity, and the strange magnetism of survival. Sometimes, years later, she ran into Evan, once in a grocery store, once outside a courthouse, once passing through a skybridge downtown. Each time he looked older, not in years but in weight. His once sharp posture softened. His eyes, once filled with calculation, now carried something bruised, a tiredness, a sagging of someone who had bet everything on certainty and lost more than he expected. He would look at her with a flicker of recognition mixed with something like regret. But he never tried to speak to her, never asked if she was well, never apologized, and she never offered him anything. Not anger, not conversation, not memory. She had stepped out of his shadow long ago. The person who slowly entered her orbit instead was Daniel Pierce, a history teacher from Ballard High School who first walked into her studio with a box of century-old wooden frames he wanted restored for his classroom. He was gentle in the way people become after years of learning how to listen. His humor was quiet, his patience unwavering. He drank tea instead of coffee. He quoted obscure journals about American pioneer woodworking, and he had a way of watching her work as if witnessing a story unfold. Their connection wasn't immediate. It wasn't dramatic. It was slow, respectful, cautious. Two adults who understood grief, boundaries, and how to rebuild without haste. He never asked about Evan. He never asked why certain topics made her fall silent. He simply learned her rhythms the way he taught his students. Carefully, steadily, without force. And she found herself laughing more often, breathing more deeply, allowing softness back into her life, not as an apology, but as a deliberate choice. On a late summer evening, the sky over Seattle blushed in shades of lavender and peach. The light caught on the ferry docks, the windows of downtown high-rises, the surface of Elliott Bay. Marilyn stood in her living room, gazing out at the skyline through her west-facing window. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the city far below. She rested her hand against the warm glass, feeling the pulse of everything she had survived, not as a wound, but as a testament. Her reflection showed a woman who had been broken open, examined her life piece by piece, and rebuilt herself with the precision of a craftsman. Not louder, not harder, just stronger. Daniel called from the kitchen, asking if she wanted dinner soon. His voice was gentle, grounding. She smiled, not the small, careful smile she once wore around Evan, but a real one, warm and unguarded. "I'll be right there," she replied. For a moment longer. She looked out over Seattle, the place where she lost everything she thought she needed and found everything she truly did. The light touched her face, soft and golden. A quiet victory, a life reclaimed. Not with noise, not with vengeance, but with peace.